Here's an in-depth sewing tutorial if you want to make a skirt like this.
For this skirt, I'm going to use 4 different types of fabric: a sparkly outer fabric, a soft pink lining, and a metallic silver and pink fabric for the ruffles. Then you're going to need a skirt pattern. Let me know if you want a tutorial on this, or you can find a free one online and adjust it to your size. This pattern is made to the hip and waist measurement of my mannequin, and then it's about 8 inches long. The first thing I did was iron my sparkly fabric and the lining fabric. I used to skip this step, but this is going to make your sewing projects look way better. Cut out 2 rectangles for your main fabric and your lining fabric. These are about 26 by 11 inches. Fold the fabric in half and then layer the lining on top of the main fabric. Make sure you cut the front sewing pattern on the fold, then make sure you have 2 lining pieces and 2 main fabric pieces for the backside. Pin in place, cut out your pieces, and make sure to mark your dart lines on the backside of the skirt. Now you have all the pattern pieces for your skirt, and it's time to make the darts on the back of the skirt. Place your pattern on the wrong side of your fabric and then grab a pin. Press the pin through the point of the dart and then mark this spot with a pin. Now connect this point to the 2 dart notches you made at the top of the skirt using a straight edge. After you do this to all 4 back pieces, you're going to take it to your sewing machine and sew down all 4 darts. If you need a more in-depth dart tutorial, I already have one uploaded on my page. Now grab the front pieces of your skirt and place them right sides together with the back pieces of the skirt. Then you're going to pin in place and sew down the side edges using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Now grab your main fabric and your lining and place them right sides together. Pin in place along the top side of the skirt. Once pinned in place, make a mark 1 inch away from the sides of the skirt. Now you're going to sew along the top side of the skirt, starting and ending where you made those marks. You want to leave those 1 inch spaces open because that's where you're going to insert the zipper later on. I'm using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. It should look like this, and now you're going to set this part of the skirt aside while we work on the ruffles. For the ruffles and pleats, we're going to cut out long strips of fabric. If you're making ruffles, the length of these strips of fabric should be double the length of your hip measurement. If you're making pleats, this measurement should be 3 times the size of your hip measurement. Now the width of these strips of fabric is up to you, and that's going to decide how long or short your skirt is. The longest ruffle on my skirt was about 7 inches thick, and the rest were between 2 and 6 inches. It's also up to you to decide what colors you want these ruffles and pleats to be. To make the ruffles, we're going to gather our fabric, and then to make the pleats, we're going to fold our fabric. If you need an in-depth tutorial on how to do this, I already have some uploaded on my page. Then you're going to stack the ruffles and pleats on top of each other and go over the top of it with a basting stitch to keep them in place. When you sew the shorter silver and rose gold ruffle on top of the baby pink long ruffle, you want to make sure you leave 1 inch of space on the end of the baby pink fabric to make room for the zipper. You want to make sure the bottom side of your skirt part is the same measurement as the top side of your ruffles. And if you look closely, you can see I left 1 inch of space on the sides of the shorter ruffles. Now you're going to place the ruffles right sides together on the bottom side of the skirt. Make sure you're doing this on the main fabric and not on the lining fabric. Now you're going to pin in place and go over it with a straight stitch using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Now the ruffles are attached to the skirt and the lining, and the next step is to insert an invisible zipper. Inserting an invisible zipper is a very long process that needed its own video, so I made one, and you can now find that video on my page as well. Once the invisible zipper is attached, you're going to join the lining onto the skirt using a slip stitch. You can also find the slip stitch video tutorial on my page. And then I also did some top stitching on the top of the skirt. And now we get to embellish the skirt even more with more ruffles. For this part, I just pin the ruffles onto the skirt and then attach them using a straight stitch. The placement of the ruffles is really just up to you and your personal preference. After that, you're all done. Let me know if this video sewing tutorial was helpful, and follow and save for more sewing videos.